which means smelly trash in the local dialect.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How you all doing? I hope you all are doing great. Yes, your girl is back with another interesting video I know you are going to love to watch. But before I proceed with this video, if you're new to my platform, you love my reaction videos, you want to see more from the Philippines, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you don't get to miss out each time I bring videos like this your doorstep. So in today's video, I'm going to be reacting on the dark side of the Philippines. This video sounds interesting. So without wasting much of your time, let's watch this video together. At the end of it, we'll discover the dark side of the Philippines they're talking about in this video. Okay?
Have you ever wondered how it feels to have a really slow internet that everything you watch practically buffers? Or maybe you want to eat an egg that already has a duck inside it. Let's find out more about the Philippines, a naturally beautiful country with an equally interesting culture. Being the world's second largest archipelago with numerous volcanoes means that the Philippines is rich in natural resources. This is why this territory was highly sought after and occupied by 3 foreign nations before its independence: the Spanish, the US, and the Japanese. It was first controlled by the Spanish, thanks to the famous conquistador Ferdinand Magellan. The islands were deemed worthy due to their lucrative spice trade and proximity to China and Japan. It's one of the most strategic spots that allows them to spread their economic prowess. The Spanish managed to monopolize the country from 1521 to 1898, which was when the Spanish-American War happened. Afterward, the US took control, although there was resistance from the Filipino troops led by Aguinaldo for independence. The Spanish officially handed over the territory in the Treaty of Paris. It was only after a short stint of Japanese occupation in World War I that the Philippines finally gained its independence on July 4, 1946. The free country is now well known for its beautiful sceneries and delicious delicacies. One of the most famous of those delicacies is balut eggs. But before you go out and try it, you should find out what it is first. And for those who have a weak stomach, I suggest you stay back and not Google the image. Balut eggs are fertilized duck eggs, with a developed embryo already inside. Many even dub this strange snack the national street food snack. When you bite into the egg, you'll see the eyes, beak, and even feathers. The taste is similar to chicken noodle soup, just with eggs and crunchier. Thanks to the beak, people love this low-cost snack because of its health benefits. Balut has a higher protein content and it's believed to be an aphrodisiac. Many people found this dish to be controversial due to religious reasons and also animal welfare. People are concerned about whether boiling a developing animal embryo is ethically acceptable. Even Canada classified balut as a hazardous food. Nevertheless, balut eggs are a cultural heritage, and it's still one of the most unique dishes in the world with an acquired taste. You may have heard about the stickman of Asia, a phrase used to describe the Philippines during the mid-80s, when Ferdinand Marcos was leading the country. The country underwent decades of reformation, paying back debts and building its infrastructures to finally shed its reputation. It also gained strength during Aquino's regime, which managed to attack graft, increased transparency and public accountability, and strengthened his government overall. It managed to achieve a growth rate of 8%, similar to one of the fastest growing economies in the world, China. It took a bit of a downturn in the COVID-19 era, primarily due to the leader's policy which allowed bad habits to return. The country is in a weaker position than it was in 2016, but the year 2022 was proven to be fruitful for the nation. After the negative impact of the pandemic, their GDP growth was up to 7.6% from only 5.6% the previous year. On the other hand, there is still a long way to go for the country to achieve economic and social growth. By the end of 2022, their Human Development Index has lowered to 116th in the world, and their GDP per capita is still ranked at 124th with only a U.S. annual income of $3,461. One of the causes is the rampant corruption that exists in the country. The Philippines is currently perceived as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. and it ranks top 1/3 based on the Corruption Perception Index by Transparency International. It scored only 33 out of 100 on the Transparency Index. Their latest former president, Duterte, famously said that corruption is endemic in the country, and there is no way to stop corruption unless you overturn the government completely. A perfect example of this is a bribery scheme that's named Pastilles, which involved high-ranking Bureau of Immigration officials. They allowed foreign travelers to enter the country without any background checks for a fee, and it is said that 90% of the immigration officials were involved in the modus. Another corruption case was closely related to the pandemic health crisis, where former officials of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation allegedly pocketed billions of pesos in a deal to purchase medical supplies. If only the Philippines could eradicate this issue, they may be able to invest more in their human resources and avoid putting pressure on the already rising poverty rate. For those who have a chance to travel to the Philippines, you might already be familiar with the slums of Metro Manila. The metro city has plenty of these areas where the poor reside. Shockingly, an estimated 35% of the Manila population lives in unstable shelters in the slums, which means millions of people are living there. These slums are often placed in unsafe places, such as next to railroads and right beside the garbage dump. One of the largest of Manila's slums is called Tondo, and it houses 631,000 people who live in small, shabby houses. It lacks proper sanitation and access to clean water. A famous district inside Tondo is aptly called Happy Land, a play on the word Hapalan, which means smelly trash in the local dialect. Sanitation is not the only issue in the area. Many people in the slums suffer from severe malnutrition. The residents often have to settle for scrounging and sorting through garbage for scraps of food, which are often reboiled and eaten. This dish is called papak, and believe it or not, it's very sought after by people in the slums, which is why most kids in the slums suffer from intestinal parasites and anemia. Poverty is why crime is an ongoing problem in the Philippines. Robbery is one of the most common ones, and it is currently increasing in trend. From July 2022 to January 2023, the number of cases was 6,682, which is higher compared to last year's 6,304 cases. And ironically, there were 92 robbery cases filed against police from 2016 to 2022. This might also be the reason why education quality is an imposing problem in the country. In 2022, it ranked at the bottom of 10 Asian countries in learning poverty. The World Bank also stated that 91% of Filipino children aged 10 are unable to read and understand the short and simple text. The younger students are not the only ones suffering. A well-known 2018 PISA, or Program for International Student Assessment, found that 15-year-old Filipino students obtained the lowest score in reading literacy, mathematics literacy, and science literacy. When the pandemic hit, education issues in the Philippines have worsened due to another problem that the country has: low and slow internet connectivity. Because of this, millions of kids were unable to access their schoolwork or even enroll. Although Filipinos are among the most active users of social media, the nation is ranked 100 in the global ranking for download speed, with just 32.37 megabits per second on average. Compare that to its neighbor Thailand and Singapore, with 220 megabits per second and 247 megabits respectively. A factor that hinders the improvement of internet connectivity in the country is the lack of competition. There are only 2 companies that offer telecommunication services, and these giant conglomerates see no incentives to create better infrastructure or services for their customers. There's also the issue of the controlled policy of building infrastructure. Before 2020, it generally takes 29 to 35 permits to build one cell tower. The policy leads to reluctance from providers to build more cell towers. It has since been reviewed and will hopefully solve the issue. The Philippines need at least 50,000 towers to provide adequate internet connectivity, and currently the country has only 18,000. So if you're a digital nomad and you're visiting the country, you might want to be prepared for limited online access. Another thing that you might want to be aware of when you visit the Philippines is the scam taxis. Manila taxi drivers are well known for their bad reputation. If you don't pay close attention and hop into one carelessly after arriving, you will get ripped off. Sometimes they will just give you a set amount of fare you need to pay, and refused to turn on the meter. One traveler had to pay 700 pesos when a normal ride would only cost 120. So the next time you get into a taxi in Manila, be assertive and ask your driver to turn on the meter. If they refuse to do so, get out and grab an online ride instead. One more fact about the Philippines that you need to know is that they take karaoke very seriously. So if you're a visitor, be prepared to be asked to a singing party and put your best voice forward. It's such a beloved pastime that every barangay or district has about 10 karaoke bars to serve its restaurants. But before you go ahead and sing, there is one condition. Never choose the song My Way by Frank Sinatra. The song is one of Sinatra's greatest hits and was introduced in 1969. My Way can be considered sacred or cursed in the Philippines, depending on how you see it. Since the early 2000s, it is estimated that there were a dozen killings in the Philippines that occurred due to the tune being sung in karaoke bars. The first known case was in 2007 when a 29-year-old was shot to death by a security guard for singing the tune off-key. The phenomenon is baffling enough that karaoke bar owners have resorted to removing the song entirely from their playlists. This is to avoid any confrontation and further killings. If you ever encounter the song on a playlist, choose at your own risk. The Philippines is an interesting country that has its own set of issues.